Greetings all. Today I'm going to present to you an Endeavour 38 center cockpit sailboat. Friends Aubrey and Bob owned this boat. They were getting a little bit older and decided they wanted to sell it, and it has since been sold. Interestingly, to somebody who grew up on the same gangway they were at. They weren't at the same gangway at the same time, but about 30 years before, the gentleman who bought the boat was basically born on the gangway and lived there for a couple of years. So it's interesting how the thread of life comes around. And what we see is with Endeavour sailboats, there's kind of a neat following behind that, and they make really good coastal cruisers. This one is about 17,000 pounds. It's 38 feet long, and it has kind of a small sail area. This one has an in-boom furling system. So it's not the fastest boat out there, but they're very stable and very kind. So this one is kind of set up for single-handed, and this was a perfect option for the person who bought it. So a quick search of Yacht World shows that these type of boats typically go for around $50,000 to $100,000. Endeavour made boats from about 32 feet to about 54 feet in length. Very, very popular boats. Doing a little walk around this, you can see it looks like a cruiser. One of the things I really like about Endeavour boats topside is the propane lockers. Very convenient and easy to get to, so kudos on that. Looking at a walk around of this boat, it was in fairly good shape. They maintained it for as best they could. They repowered it, got a new dinghy for it. It does need certain work like running rigging and such, and maybe even some standing rigging. But overall, it was in okay shape. Definitely could be sailed away. So looking around topside, what I did see with the center cockpit is it was relatively roomy. One of my criteria for a good center cockpit is to be able to lay down on the cockpit, and you could do that. It would definitely accommodate 4 very comfortably. 6 if you could pop some on the aft, or just a little bit tighter on that. So walking forward, I did see that probably my only gripe is it's a little tall on the freeboard going from the cockpit onto the deck. It might not be for everybody, but you definitely get used to it. And otherwise, moving around on the deck was fairly easy. Did have a roller furling up front and good anchoring system and such. So there's kudos on that. Moving around to the back, getting around the stays and stuff, very easy. Top cabin, walking around that was very easy. And then getting in and out of the cockpit from the deck wasn't too bad. Getting out's a lot tougher than getting in. There's a generous aft part of the deck, which has a couple storage boxes. This one also had dinghy davits with a new dinghy and a new motor. So yeah, kudos to that. So topside, it looked pretty good. Did have an in-boom furling system, and I knew that was going to take a little bit of work, and it also needed some running rigging. But hey, it's a boat that's been sitting around for a while. Not too bad in that sense. Some good bones to it. After the cockpit is a large area that this one has 2 storage boxes there, and that's one of the downfalls of a lot of center cockpits is not a lot of storage for things, but this one accommodated that very well. And one thing I will say about center cockpits is visibility from the cockpit is very good. Even looking over the Dodger, you could see the sail area and forward very well, so that worked out really nice. Going down below, there are 5 steps, kind of steep though, going down into the salon. But once you get down there into the salon area, looking back out onto the cockpit is actually pretty accommodating. So if you ever want to hand stuff up from being inside to getting into the folks in the cockpit and such, it's not too bad. At first, my first impression with the salon area was kind of small, but it grew on me. So it actually was a little cozy to begin with, but I found it very functional and actually more accommodating than not. So that was kind of good. On the port side of it, just kind of in the back of the salon area is your nav station and your electronics and such that was all there. Seemed very functional, very comfortable for a nav station of a boat this size. So that was really kind of a neat surprise there. So yeah, this definitely was something that grew on me. The more time I spent on the boat, that the salon area was pretty good. So the salon area and the boat in general could satisfy 4 people real easily. And if you had a couple over for dinner or so, the salon area could definitely accommodate that. So you could get 6 people in the salon area. Well, moving forward, we kind of go into the forward V berth area, and there's a head off to the port side before you get in there, and I'll show that in just a second. The V berth, going lengthwise, it's a little short, I would say. If you're 6'4" or under, you should be okay with that. If you're a little over 6'4", it won't work. A test for me is going beam to beam, and I'm about 6'1" and had plenty of room going beam to beam in the very kind of the aft part of the V berth. So that was a kudos and a plus to me. So I'll give that an okay for the forward V berth. There are 2 heads in this boat, one forward, one aft. Forward one is a wet head. It's a little small, but very functional and works out as a good kind of day head if you're out cruising. Well, after investigating the forward head here, we'll find out that it has good isolation between the forward V berth and the salon area. And as we head out of the head into the salon area, the transition is really good. Also, the salon area, again, I don't know if I mentioned this, but there's about 6'4" headroom in there. So there's plenty of headroom right in there. And we're going to move aft towards the galley, which is on the starboard side. This boat did have a small refrigerator in the forward part of the salon area, so they kind of double did it on this. And what I find is it's kind of the galleys between the engine center cockpit area and the starboard side of the hull. I found it very functional, and so you're kind of running back and forth, but because of the tightness of it, if you're in rough seas, it's not going to be very uncomfortable. It's also very midship. The storage in the ice box, so to speak, here you could put a freezer unit in there, is very spacious, and there appears to be enough cabinetry for a lot of your utensils and dinnerware. I think maybe what might be lacking a little bit is storage of food product, especially for long range cruising, so to speak, if you're going to be gone for a week or two, especially with 4 people. With 2 people, I think you could always make room. So kind of impressed with that. And again, the propane lockers for the stove are great to get to. A+ for Endeavour on engineering that. Well, you've seen we transitioned into the aft cabin, and there's a queen-size bed with a semi-walk around it, and there's 2 hanging lockers and 2 sets of drawers, one on either side, and also there's the aft head back here. So yeah, it's nice, accommodating. The great thing about aft cabin boats, the center cockpit varieties, we have fairly spacious aft cabin, especially for a boat this size. The aft head is big, it's spacious, has a standing in shower and stuff. You could put a little sub tub there if you wanted, and very spacious and very accommodating. So for the master's quarters and such, it makes a really good place to be. Well, here I'm going to start talking about the engine, and the engine access is really good. It's via the head or via the galley or underneath the companionway, so you can get around almost 360 around this thing. It was repowered with a Yanmar diesel, and also systems, manifolds and bilge and stuff are via the floorboards in the main salon, so real good access to a lot of those points. Well, as we're doing a final walkthrough of this boat, let's give some reflections on it. It's more accommodating than I thought it would be for a boat that size, and looking kind of at the cockpit and salon area, my first impressions weren't very good, but they actually grew on me. And for a couple, maybe even 2 couples over a weekend, I think it would be a great little coastal cruiser. Definitely would be a good kind of party boat for day sailing and such. And I think it does have potential for a lot of longer distance cruising, especially with a couple. Very friendly kind of boat in that sense, fairly stable, though maybe a bit small. So I hope you kind of like this. I could see why there's a following for Endeavors. There's a bunch of them out there. They seem to be very well built and could withstand a lot of use that way, and moving around the boat was actually a little bit better than I thought, with the exception of moving out of the cockpit onto the side planks. So I hope you enjoyed this tour of an Endeavour 38, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye bye.